But the big news, Ian, it's the biggest game maybe of the millennium. I don't know. I'm supposed to be excited about this. No Man's Sky on PS4 and now on the PC.
All right, so I'm going to hit the start on the stopwatch, and I'm going to try to keep myself to a reasonable word limit here, because I got a lot of things to say about it. Here we go. For those of you who don't know what No Man's Sky is, and that's not many of you, I will give you a quick brief rundown of what No Man's Sky is. No Man's Sky is...
It's a video game, right?
It's a video game. Okay. It is roughly a space simulator. It's kind of a throwback to an old style of game. It's space exploration, okay? You can fly around to different planets and different star systems. You can go touch down to planet surfaces, harvest for minerals.
Well, that's what's unique to me about it. You can go on the planet.
You can right instead of like the older games where you send down like a mining droid or something and it just tells you what you've collected or what the atmosphere is. You actually go down to the planet. You can interact with so far I think there's only 3, but I've played probably 25, 30 hours, and I'll get to why I only know so much about the game in a minute. I'm interacting with 3 different alien species. There's space combat. There's war. You can attack warships. You can attack small ships. You can defend warships. And there is a main storyline thread about this red being, almost like a godlike being called the Atlas, that you can kind of follow to the center of the universe, which is kind of the main storyline thread. But there's also a number of other storyline threads you can follow, finding out the history.
There's 3 main ones you can do?
Well, there's 3 main alien races, but there's kind of this...
But there's 4 alien races.
3 that I know of at the moment. And then there's kind of this main storyline thread, which is finding the center of the galaxy. But the main appeal of the game is exploration. There are definite things to do, but there isn't a lot. The game was kind of billed as an exploration game. In the trailers that you saw early on, it shows a character from a first-person perspective. You don't create a character, you don't pick your gender, you don't do anything. It's just first person, dumps you in. It shows the character walking around, scanning life forms. You basically create an encyclopedia of all the life forms that you encounter. You create an encyclopedia of all the plants that you encounter. You name all your planets. You name all of your moons. You name your star systems. You name everything that you encounter, in the hopes that someday someone else lands in your star system and sees all these things that you've done. When you're on planets, you can find waypoints to transmissions that show crashed ships. You can salvage the ships. Some ships will have more storage than others. The game is, at the heart of it, a survival game, in that each system that you touch down on is procedurally generated. It's going to look a little bit different.
Well, that's the main draw of the game.
It's the main draw. There's literally a multiple quintillion planets.
18 quintillion different planets that are generated in this. It's a shared universe with other players.
And sure, there's 18 quintillion planets.
But I should say that there's actually right now an IP dispute, or using the super formula for this procedure generation.
Sure. When you touch down, planets have different levels of toxicity. They can be extra cold, they can be super hot, they can have radioactive rain, things along those lines. This means that you can take shelter in caves during storms to avoid the radioactive rain. And what the game boils down to is, initially, you kind of have this urge to explore and find stuff. You want to find hard to find chemicals like or isotopes like carbon. You want to find aluminum, gold. You want to find all these different things that you can harvest, all these compounds.
So you can craft things.
You can craft things. You also use them to keep your life support systems in check, in order. Okay. So let's say life support. Life support requires carbon. your mining beam, which you use to shoot at different plants or different rock structures to get different minerals and elements. You harvest them using a beam. You need to recharge your beam. You use these things to power your boost jets on your spaceship and things like that. You have a very limited inventory management, so management's a very important thing. So inventory management is constant. At various times you're going to be like, well, carbon's very easy to harvest, so I'm going to dump this carbon so that I can keep this harder to find element like aluminum, in here, or copper, which you don't see very often. I'm going to keep this in here. And you spend a lot of time initially. To start the game, it dumps you on a planet, and your starship is broken down, and it throws you this kind of slapdash tutorial as to how to repair your ship. Teaches you some basic crafting, some basic mineral and element harvesting, shows you how to use the crafting, shows you how to repair the ship, shows you how to get off the planet, get into space, and land on another planet. Okay. What's problematic is if you start off the game on a hostile planet like I did, where the sentry drones, now every planet has these like sentry drones which kind of go around and just kind of monitor things, and some of them don't take too kindly to alien life forms harvesting their minerals.
Okay.
So if they see you harvesting precious minerals, they will attack you, and you have to use your mining beam retrofitted with like what's called a bolt cutter to shoot them down before they call in other sentries. If you start off on a hostile planet, it can be kind of tough to get off that planet. But once you do, you realize one of the first things that kind of impresses about the game, and it's the very seamless transition from planet surface to ship to outer space to I see a planet to hyperdrive to entering atmosphere to landing to getting out to running around.
So no load screens?
No load screens, no nothing. I mean, it's gorgeous. I mean, you'll see the planet kind of loading as you're like flying in, but there's no freezing.
The pop-in is like pixelation. I see the videos where it's like
it doesn't like stop, now loading X planet, done. It's very seamless. The issue is the game doesn't hold your hand. Now, a lot of people don't like a lot of the hand-holding that goes on in modern games, but No Man's Sky, the first strike against it is that it doesn't have really any hand-holding above and beyond what it teaches you at first. People don't necessarily realize certain things like when you get into a space fight, how to regenerate your shield. I died in my first 2 space fights horribly because my shields were completely obliterated and I got shot down. When you get shot down, it leaves a little grave marker, or if you die on a planet, it leaves a grave marker, and you've got to make it back there to get your inventory back. And it's only in my like 3rd or 4th space fight that a little window pops up and it says, open your inventory and click on your deflector shield.
There's no instructions that tell you this?
There is, but like it's just so we live in like, I don't like games that are overly hand-holding, like go do this, go do that, but you expect a little bit more, I think, from a game. When you get into a space fight and it's your first space fight, you might expect them to be like, hey, to recharge your shield, just press this button and maybe click on this thing.
I'm used to playing Privateer and X-Wing where you read the manual.
And so am I, so I get used to this.
Yeah.
But these are the things that people are kind of complaining about. There's not a lot of direction in the game. Trying
to find if you missed out on the warp drive I saw about having to backtrack and stuff like that.
Yeah, the game is less than clear.
This is a totally different experience.
Yes, but
versus most games.
To a person who played certain types of games back in the day, it's not an unfamiliar game. It's very much a throwback. Mm-hmm. So let's switch gears here. At various points in time, I very much love No Man's Sky, and I am peppered with points of.
Well, what do you like about it? What do you enjoy the most?
It's very peaceful.
To explore?
I find it very peaceful to explore.
Are you impressed with the different types of planets, different types of creatures that are procedurally generated, things like that?
To the degree that I can be, because there was a huge hype train for this game, right? Okay?
Gigantic. This was like...
Gigantic.
PS4, you gotta get PS4 to get this game.
They placed and I wish I was wording this better, but they placed an entire generation's weight on this game's shoulders. And I think it was unfair. Because I don't believe
When you
that...
say they, who?
I believe gamers, magazines, media hyped this game beyond what Hello Games themselves actually promised out of this game.
Yeah.
I don't believe we got less than what Hello Games promised out of this game. I love the empty void of space in this game. I love how lonely this game feels. I love the exploration. Here's what happened. I started this game, right? And I kept jumping from planet to planet, never exploring, never starting radio towers, never shooting for beacons, never trying to find crash-landed ships, never trying to find outposts or intelligent life that was on the planets. Just jumped around, tried to find the next story point. And then what happened is I found a star system with 5 planets and a moon, and a really fucking shitty space station that was not offering me good prices on anything. But I didn't give a shit.
Damn resellers.
And you know what happened? That was 3 days into me playing, and I have stayed in that star system since.
Just looking around the planet.
Just looking around and scanning and really exploring.
So the core gameplay is survival, staying alive, getting these minerals, crafting, getting upgrades,
buying new ships.
Buying new ships.
Do you want a fighter ship? Do you want a ship more tuned for fighting, more tuned for cargo hauling? Do you want to be making more money?
Is there a trading system in place?
There is a very it's weak, but there is a trading system in place. There is an incredibly fun language system in place where you go around finding monoliths and smaller stones on the planets that teach you words in these different alien languages, so that every conversation you have with these aliens, they start filling in the blanks and you start understanding more of what they're saying. There's interesting backstories to these aliens. And what happens is I realized that I stopped trying to look for goals. I stopped trying to find treasure. I stopped trying to find rare resources, and I just started looking around. I started making my own game, and I like it.
You just hung out.
I just hang out
around.
I play it. And,
document some creatures.
And Vonnie enjoys watching it. And while I have not seen any of these big dinosaurs that they promised us in the 2014 trailer, I have seen plenty of elephant-sized creatures that are really cool looking. And I understand the limits of procedural generation, which I don't think many people quite understand yet. Yeah, a lot of the planets look the same. Some of these trippy-looking planets are more habitable than others. Some of them have acid rain. A lot of these things look the same. A lot of the animals look the same. A lot of the plants look the same. But this is procedural generation, and this is how it works when you are dealing with a quintillion planets. Now, that said, the people who are upset with the game, I get it. You thought you were getting something different. You thought you were going to get more action. You thought you were going to get a Skyrim in space. I really like the game. Sometimes I find myself getting too wound up in this, I need to make a lot of money because I want a ship upgrade. But then I go, what am I doing? And then I just go explore, and I find a calm, and I'm happy. I would say this, I'm very happy with my experience, and I will continue to play the game. And I think if Hello Games wants to, they have a great starting point to create something that other people will like out of this. But I'm happy with what I got. I don't feel like I got a short end of the stick. However, if, unlike other games that I've reviewed, such as Overwatch or Doom, if anything I'm saying here does not sound interesting to you, don't buy the game. You're not going to like it. You're not. It's not a game for you. It's not going to be something that appeals to you now. Maybe it will be in the future. But if you want something relaxing, the survival aspects are not particularly taxing. Once you learn how to avoid sentinels or land on peaceful planets and kind of only use the harsh planets to get minerals that you really need, because generally the harsh planets with aggressive sentinels are only blocking off really like hard to find resources. You get in, you get out, you blast the fuck off. You will find something that is incredibly your own thing. You make your own thing out of it. And like I said, you will bounce around for days, and then you will find something that you want to call home for days, and then you will reluctantly say goodbye to it, which is something that I'm going to do. And I will find a new star system, and I will do it. And will I jump back on that story path? Maybe. maybe I'll just explore space for a month until I get bored of it. I feel like there's more I wanted to say, but I do have to wrap this up reasonably.
Well, I gotta get my points in.
I will. I'll say this last thing. If I were to rate this game, I hate using numbers, so I'm going to rate it thusly. I would rate it a tilapia out of fish. And the reason I would rate it such is tilapia is good. Tilapia is kind of flavorless. It's a palate. Tilapia, to me, as a cook, is a great fish, but it totally depends on what you cook it with and how you cook it. It absorbs whatever you want to put into it. It's like a tofu in that way. If you just look at No Man's Sky and you have no idea what you want to do with No Man's Sky and you allow yourself to get frustrated with it and not try to put something into it and make your own thing out of it, you're going to find it a bland experience, a boring experience, and you're going to be very upset.
Okay.
But if you want to put the work in and just enjoy yourself, you're going to love it.
This is a strange game to review. I think overall, I've seen reviews come out even today, way after they got the review copies. This is a game that had a day one patch that changed the entire game, which is a whole other conversation we'll get into about reviewing games beforehand, paying that one idiot that paid over $1,000 for an early copy. You basically don't have the game at all.
Yeah.
Because the patch changes the entire game, and people getting up in arms over a game that is not even complete now. Like, we don't know what they're going to add to this. We don't know what's actually finished in the long term. I do know that from looking at various reviews, it's like it's going to take weeks, if not months, for anyone to get close to the center of the galaxy or universe. It could take a while.
Well, the guy who bought an early copy, and granted that the early copy said it took 30 hours, but who knows what the actual patch did to it.
From what I've said, people have been playing 50 hours and they're not getting anywhere.
Sure.
Well,
I can tell you what, I've made jumps, and the number from how far I am from the center of the galaxy is like disturbingly, it's like going down disturbingly little by little.
When you have 18 quintillion planets,
yeah,
that's like our galaxy, or
sure,
it's just our galaxy is big, let alone any universe or whatever. So how do you judge a game that may not be finished is going to add other features? Hello Games has said they're going to add more stuff in. They're going to add in freighters or other things.
I believe they also said potentially the ability to build. And I'm just going off of what I've heard, but I believe the ability to build your own bases on planets.
So they're going to try to make this more like a game like Star Citizen, which is an entirely different experience, or a game like
mixed with Minecraft.
Yeah. So then what is this game? How do you judge a game? How do you review a game that might take you literally 500 hours to really get anywhere, or maybe a game that's going to be entirely different based upon the upgrades a year later? We don't know. To me, this is a game that functions and only exists because of that super formula, allegedly, that they're using, and the procedural generation. Otherwise, there's no game. There's absolutely no game. The structure is this mathematical formula to make these planets, to make a wide variety, to fill up this huge space, a space you said that's just a huge void, with planets here and there, and having these weird creatures that I saw Jim Sterling say, after a while, it does seem it's like just interchanging Lego parts.
It is.
On these creatures. So that's the gimmick of the game. But is that enough to draw you in? That's, to me, what it comes down to. It's enough to draw you in. For someone like me, I might get tired of it after a while.
Sure.
Not having concrete goals. Not having a storyline I can sink my teeth into right away. I personally wouldn't want to go and just look and mine the same minerals over and over again for hours on end.
Fair.
That, to me, would get tedious. But maybe that's not. But it's not for me, though.
Right.
I can still maybe marvel at the planets and the dinosaurs, but after 5 or 6 hours, okay, what's next?
I think my last words on this before we move on. I think this game also came to me at a specific time where I really needed something like this. And at the end of the day, this is something that's very good for me to play. It's a very good wind-down game. And I remember a really fun moment for me, and it's going to sound a little sappy at first, but it's funny at the end, is I'm standing on top of this really pretty cliff, right? And in this valley below, there's all these like very pretty like plants, and they're all neon, right? And I'm looking up, and you see this, it's this gorgeous like planet, okay? And the way the graphics and everything are, it just looks really pretty. And Vonnie goes, "Can you go there?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's." So I hop in the spaceship and I take off and we fly off this planet, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is really cool. And we land and it's hostile, and it's raining acid rain, and the fucking sentinels want to kill me, so we get right back in the fucking ship and take off in the other direction. But it was just cool to stand there, and, you know, other games have done it, but to, like, stand on the top of a mountain of one planet and see a planet in the fucking distance and be like, can we do it? Yep. And we just go and do it. And it's it's fun.
Fair enough, but you're going to get to that point eventually where
Yes.
I think this is a game that might be looked at 10 years from now as a starting point of what you can do with
My
the
buddy
Super
has said this. My buddy and I are playing this, and he's enjoying it less than I am, but he's still enjoying it. But he goes, this is the jump-off point for a whole new spin on this type of game.
Sure. This whole super formula, what you can do in an open world game, because when I say all these different types of animals, I'm taken aback by, it is cool you have all these different types of animals, they look different. But then when I hear they have like only one or two types of behavior, to me that's a letdown.
It's very little behavior.
To me it's almost like, okay, we can do it's almost like, remember, Hello Games is what, 15 people? It's a small independent. This is an independent game company making a huge fucking game.
Yeah.
With some Sony backing though. Right? They got some money for them. But this, to me, it's an achievement on its own. But is that enough to be impressed at? Because they basically they saw this formula to make this is the type of game that you would need a formula like this in order to really see the response.
Yes.
For an open universe, tons of planets. To me, it's almost like this is an experimental game to me.
And
it's a totally experimental game.
Yes. And I already said last thing, but had this been approached from the angle of an indie game made by a small studio, which it is, without the hype train, people would be losing their shit over it, I think. It's being approached from the angle of a AAA game that's letting down a bunch of people.
I think the key is going to be, looking a couple years down the line, will they be able to beef up the combat and space combat? I hear the space combat is super simplistic.
It is.
And when I hear that, I'm totally not on board, because if I'm playing a space simulation, there's got to be engaging space
It needs
combat.
more.
And the same with the ground combat. So can they add enough stuff to sort of incorporate features of something like Star Citizen, for example, enough so that you can get fans of that to be, okay, this is Star Citizen, which has planets that are pre-made up and a lot less of them, versus almost literally, well, it could be infinite. You'll never be able to explore them all. There's too many of them. An infinite amount of planets, but it's a bare bones gameplay feature. Like,
right.
Is it going to swing that way towards Star Citizen, or is Star Citizen going to just be for someone like me, or this is a game I'd rather play versus a game where I'm trying to get carbon for 2 hours and trying to find stuff to graft on my ship, and and dealing with only a couple different combat type weapons at the time. Can they beef it up to some point where it can get more interesting to someone like me?
And lest anyone think that I have all these hearts and roses, I do fully expect to burn out on this game. I think this game has probably a month shelf life for me.
Okay.
I do. I'm being reasonable here.
Because when I see people say, like, after the 5th planet it gets tiresome, I'm doing the same stuff, then it's like...
I think that's a game that's not for them. Sure. I think for the type of person it is for, I feel like it's still limited.
It's a divisive game.
I think it's still limited, but I feel like I've got a month to go on this.
All right, well, we'll see. Check back in a month if Ian's sick of it, or if Ian's be wearing a shirt for the game on the podcast, and we'll see what they add in future updates. Can they, now that they have this cool way of generating the universe, can they populate the universe with an interesting story and characters and more interesting combat options and ship options, etc., etc. And we didn't even talk about potentially, not even being able to see other players because the universe is so big, and what happens when that happens, and naming your own planet. Did you name your own planet yet?
I've named a bunch of them. All sorts of dumb things.
Look out for planet. Give me one.
I named one overcompensating chef because it was rich in emerald, which is a very, very valuable resource, and I always wanted to remember that it was there so I could go mine there if I needed money.
All right, then. Strange ending to the segment.